Call to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Belsley.
Here.
Dobb. Here. Hare.
Here.
Herman.
Here.
Hoffman.
Here.
Newhouse.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a public hearing today. The village owns some plots of land bounded by Adams and Plum and Jefferson. And Mr. Parrott owns some plots of land bounded by Washington, Plum, and Adams. The sum of both of those sets of parcels are equal in size and value, and we have agreed to swap with Mr. Parrott. So we're holding a public hearing today. If there's anyone who would like to comment on this, please raise your hand. Mr. Bright? Well, you have to tell us who you are because you're a mystery man. You know the rules.
Well, I know I got to do this, but then I need to ask the question of the corporate counsel. Bob Bright, 137 West Chicago Street, Morton, Illinois, 61550. May I ask the corporate counsel a question?
Within reason, sure.
I thought a public hearing, I had the opportunity to talk to the parties involved, like at a planning or a variance committee.
I'll defer to legal counsel for that.
You're inquiring as to whether you have the right to cross-examine?
Well, I asked questions to find out more about it.
You have the right to make a comment for the public hearing portion. It's similar to a comment during the normal public comment portion of the meeting.
Now, do I get a chance to talk at public comments too?
Well, you can make any comments you want, but if there's more you want to know about this, give me a call tomorrow. I'll tell you everything you want to know. There's no secrets.
Okay. Thank you, sir. On what basis do you determine that it's an equal value property?
We had an appraiser do both, the same appraiser do both pieces of property, do all the little pieces of property, and he came up with an equal value. They're just across the street from each other.
Right. Now,
But
can I
that's
get a
you're
copy of those
sneaking a
appraisals?
question in here.
Pardon?
I said you're sneaking in questions. Have you got a statement that you want to make, and then you and I can do the questions tomorrow?
Well, here's my concerns. I thought if I had the answers, it doesn't look like a proper swap, even though you're saying the square footage is the same. I'll try to not to address it as questions then. It'd be nice to know, my concern is, what's the village going to do with the property they obtain? What's Mr. Parrott going to do with the property he obtains? It appears you're giving up a perfectly good parking lot to expend money to build another parking lot if that's your intention. Are you going to have to, I know he's, as part of that notice here, and this is really not transparency, that's legal jargon trying to figure out what pieces are coming together. But what's it going to cost you to pave it if you're going to put in a, I'm not asking you to answer, that's my concern.
Well, but, okay, now that I know what your question is, we can talk tomorrow, and I'll show you a map and show you what we're going to do.
Right, but I'm concerned that the trustees don't know what's all involved and going on. If I talk to you after the fact, that the thing's been approved.
Well, if this is any consolation, we're not going to vote on it tonight. We're just having the public hearing tonight.
Okay. Well, my perception of the public hearing was different, but we'll go ahead. How are you going to address the stormwater runoff? Is there only 2 houses on the property that Mr. Parrott is transferring? If so, are they going to be torn down? I know he's going to tear down 2. Now, if you're going to, whatever you're going to do with the property, who's going to pay to relocate the power pole that has the guide wires that come into that property? I think there's some expenses out there that this square footage for this square footage, it's like comparing a seashore property with a swamp property. They're not the same value. And I'm concerned that the park that currently, I call it a park, it's in the parking lot area that you're going to be transferring to Mr. Parrott. It's grass area, it's got the trees, it's got a picnic table. Is that going to become another parking lot? That's the benefit to the village. I'm just thinking that we're rushing in to do something, and I can't, without having a plat, to know how what we're talking about tonight on this proposed transfer or swap, how it fits with the previous transfer of property from the village to Mr. Parrott, Parrott back to the village. So, what is the advantage? Is what I'm, I guess, asking of you tonight. So, that's it for the public hearing then. Thank you.
But give me a call tomorrow, and I'll go over it with you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments on this transaction? There being none, I'm going to declare the public hearing closed. There are no special reports today. I will ask, is there anyone who wants to make a public comment on some other subject? Yes?
Bob Bright, 137 West Chicago Street, Morton, Illinois, 61550. I looked at the video of last meeting of the village board, and the EDC presented a check for $800,000. Well, the facts, as I understood from listening to that and seeing that video, are not the facts that I know that happened. It wasn't a grassroots effort. It was top down. The village had an opportunity to buy that property at a whole lot less price. No, we can't do it. We got to convince the village residents that's what they want. So they hire a hired gun, a consultant. That's what they are. You tell the consultant what you want to hear, and they come back and provide that. And you say, my consultant said this. The school district does the same stuff. You hire consultants and say, we're going to rely on them. But I had a chance to buy it, hired the consultant, and when the opportunity comes, I guess, to buy it, there was a private, by invitation only, auction that a businessman was representing the village at by buying the property, then with the agreement that the village is going to reimburse him. So they paid $8 a square foot for it, and some of it for $21 a square foot. The property that's being involved in this public hearing is $3 a square foot. So the village is the one that started that downtown plaza. And looking at it from my perspective, and knowing enough about conflicts of law, the practice of real estate, and public service, the village attorney was in a conflict of interest when he was representing the seller of the Michael property and representing the village. I realized they tried to get around the curve by hiring another law firm to complete the deal. The business owner, Mr. Dean Grimm, he was practicing real estate when he represented the village. You can say, well, he didn't represent the village, but that was a under-the-table type thing. So then he sells his $15,000 property for $75,000 because he's got the village over a barrel. And I know that recently you've commented, Your Honor, that $1 million is sitting over there to help with the project. But you've already spent $400,000, maybe $500,000 to acquire the property, hire the consultants, hire the engineers. That should come off that $1 million. Otherwise, you're going to end up with that $2.3 million project. So I just want to share with you what I know about the facts involving that downtown plaza. It was a sham. Thank you.
Does anyone else have a comment they'd like to make about some other subject? Would anyone in the audience like to pull anything from the consent agenda? The consent agenda contains the minutes of the last meeting and invoices to be approved. Would any of the trustees like to pull anything from the consent agenda? Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move approval?
Second?
Second.
Second by here. Any questions? Would you call it, please?
Belsley?
Yes.
Dobb?
Yes.
Hare?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Kaufman?
Yes.
Newhouse?
Yes. I have two items myself that I'd like to mention. One of them is that Adam Lark, sitting right out in front of us here, who has covered us in the Morton Times for so long, is moving on to expand his career and leave the newspaper. And unfortunately, we won't be seeing him at all of our meetings in the future. I wanted to say goodbye to Adam. I thought he'd done a great job. And to introduce Drew. Drew Veskoff, I keep wanting to say Weskoff, but it's Veskoff, is going to be the new news editor from the Times. And could you kind of like wave so everybody knows that it's you? And I want to welcome you to the meetings, and anything you'd like to know about what's going on, please give us a call. The only other thing I wanted to mention was I have to brag on the Morton girls volleyball team. They ended the season at a new 8-year high in that they had an 11-3 record and they won 10 of their last 11 league games. So hats off to the girls volleyball team. Having said that, I will move on to the village clerk.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Village administrator.
First item on my list is I'm asking approval to transfer $274,000 from the general fund and $11,000 from the water and sewer depreciation fund to the capital projects fund.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call it, please.
Dobb?
Yes.
Hare?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Kaufman?
Yes.
Newhouse?
Yes.
Belsley?
Yes.
The next item on my list is I'm asking the board to approve ordinance number 14-26, an ordinance for the levy and assessment of taxes for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2014 and ending April 30th, 2015. This is something that we do every year. It's related to our property taxes. We generally use this to cover the pensions for the general fund departments, which would be police, paramedics, admin, fire, the street department. Unlike the gas and water funds that are operated more in a business format, these are not. They're completely funded by taxes. So we use the money to cover that. We also use this money to contribute to our police pension fund. We're trying to get that up to our 100% covered unfunded liability, having that at 0%, being 100% funded. The remainder is used to cover a portion of the salaries for our police, fire, and paramedics. So this year, the total levy is $2,007,000. Although I don't know that we will get that, we are limited to CPI, which is 1.5%. So that's the increase we will likely see in the coming year from last year's extension.
Motion.
Move approval, Your Honor.
Second.
Second by Hare, moved by Kaufman. Any discussion? Questions? Call it, please.
Hare? Yes. Herman?
Yes.
Kaufman?
Yes.
Newhouse?
Yes.
Belsley?
Yes.
Dobb?
Yes.
The next item on my list is tonight I am presenting for your approval the renewal of the property and casualty insurance for calendar year 2015. This takes effect December 1st. And I put a memo in your packets, which you can see that the total increase for the year is a 6% increase, which the majority of that comes from work comp. The property casualty increased less than 1%. The work comp is it's all based on the work comp rates in the state for the majority of it, because our work comp experience has been very good this year. We've had very minimal claims. And so I think everybody is seeing this increase, and that's why we're given this. So overall, it's a 6% increase. On another note, with the work comp, they do give us a grant each year once you're in within a year. And we did get a grant for up to $4,000 that can be used towards things such as ballistic vests or tasers, power cuts that the paramedics use, safety vests, hard hats, all of that. You have to apply for the grant. Our department heads will work together to figure out what they're going to apply for, and I think within the office we'll probably have Jessica handle coordinating that. They asked for one person to coordinate it. And in a final note, I just wanted to say how helpful Cool Company or Cool Insurance has been this year. They've helped us get a safety committee off the ground, and they're kind of taking it, helping us write some policies and get some good things in place. So it's been a huge asset. It was kind of like adding a part-time person to my staff this year just by using them, which was really helpful because we are a government entity and we don't usually add people. So.
Motion.
Approval.
Second.
Second.
Second by Herman. Discussion? Call it, please.
Herman.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Newhouse. Belsley.
Yes.
Dobb.
Yes.
Hare. Yes.
That's all I have.
I'd like to mention hats off to the administrator. She's working hard to get a lot of stuff cleaned up before the end of the year so that we have a fresh start at the beginning of the year, and it's really appreciated. Deputy Chief,
I have nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Corporate Counsel,
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Director of Fire and Emergency,
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Director of Public Works.
2 items tonight, Your Honor. First item is A and B together. B is resolution number 14-14. This is a resolution authorizing agreement with CMT, and that agreement is the contract with Crawford Murphy and Tilley for engineering services to design, model, and bid the combined sewer overflow flow control structure in an amount not to exceed $66,700. This is in our NPDES permit with the IEPA. This is a significant step forward in reducing and monitoring our combined sewer overflow events within the village. All of this work will be under the review of the IEPA.
Any discussions? You moved by Trustee Hare, seconded by Trustee Kaufman. Any discussion? This is, by the way, something that's required by the federal government, another one of their unfunded mandates, so it's not something we thought up that we would like to do. This is something we have to do. In fact, we applied for and received an opportunity to delay this, and we feel we've kind of delayed it as far as we can. We're going to have to move ahead with it. It will lead to a fairly significant project, and we're glad that we're going to be able to get started on it. Would you call it, please?
Kaufman.
Yes.
Newhouse.
Yes.
Belsley.
Yes.
Dobb.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Next item, I'd like to ask for acceptance of proposal from Crawford Murphy and Tilley for development of extended period simulations in the hydraulic model in an amount not to exceed $26,900. This is the next step in our process with the water treatment. Our first step was to flush the system. This is the next step. This is to model basically the water age, and then from there we'll be able to simulate the hydraulics of the distribution system. This again is the next step in the process as we prepare to make some operational changes at the plants, but this is a much needed step.
So moved.
Second.
Who's second? Sam here. This is another project that we just as soon not do, but we just have to recognize that we've got an old system here and it really needs to be looked at. Call a question.
Newhouse.
Yes.
Belsley.
Yes.
Dobb.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Planning and zoning.
One item, Your Honor. As you see on your agenda, we're looking to have you approve the ordinance designating an area for our enterprise zone. And if I could just kind of take us through a few steps here to bring us up to speed as to where, where we're at right now. Some of this is information that you've already had, but in the state, there are 97 enterprise zones. 47 of those have to reapply by December 31st of this year. There's going to be additional competition because there are communities in the state right now that don't currently have an enterprise zone and will want to have one. So in order for us to improve our chances, we have teamed with, in Tazewell County, there are currently 4 enterprise zones. There's only going to be 2 applications going in. Tremont, Morton, Tazewell County, and Pekin would form the south zone of the Tazewell County Enterprise Zone. Washington, East Peoria, Germantown Hills, and Tazewell County would form the north zone of Tazewell County. So we have 2 applications going in. Hopefully that will help improve our odds of being chosen. The guidelines set forth by the state require that we hold a public hearing for our enterprise zone, much like we've done in the past when we've expanded our zone twice in the last few years. And we did that on October 29th at 5 o'clock at the Law and Justice Center in Pekin. And then just a few key points that are going to be in this agreement and in the ordinance that you're going to be hopefully passing this evening. The state allows each enterprise zone to charge a 0.5% fee on the building material portion of whatever that project might happen to be, with a cap not to exceed $50,000. Currently, no one in Tazewell County charges that fee. Peoria does charge a fee, but collectively with these agreements that we're all working to put forth tonight, they will all charge the same thing. So it's not like it's going to cost somebody more here than it does somewhere else. So we'll all be playing on a somewhat level playing field. The building permit fees will be waived by 50%, which we currently do now. The intergovernmental agreement, which you have already approved with the school districts and the other taxing bodies, that will be, we're going to be a little different than the rest of the communities. They're going to abate their property taxes. Ours will go back to that agreement that you passed. So that's all a part of what we're doing. The term of this is 15 years, and then we'll have to resubmit and be reevaluated. And we know, when we know that both zones have been approved, hopefully, we have to have, there can only be one zone administrator. Currently, I'm the zone administrator for Morton, but then Pekin and everybody has their own. Well, there can only be one, and it's set forth in what we are hoping you approve is an administrative board, and it would be made up of one representative from each community. And then they will kind of put together the program as to how we're hoping it's going to be taken care of at Tazewell County. There will be someone at the county level, hopefully in their EDC area, that they don't have. It's a position they'd have to create. And that person then would do all the enterprise zone administration, which kind of makes sense since Tazewell County is kind of the central point for all of us. All the communities in Tazewell County that we are working with now, we've been working together probably for 6 months on this application that we're going to take down to the state of Illinois in a few weeks. So we put a lot of effort into it. I feel the application that we have tells our story, the successes that Morton has had with the enterprise zone, what the benefits are, and hopefully that sets well with those at the state of Illinois and they approve us. I think we'll be making our best pitch at it. And a lot of effort. I want to thank Kim Eulig from the EDC because she's been really instrumental in helping kind of sew this thing together. So it's been pretty much of a team project. If you have questions, I'll be glad to try to answer.
Move to approve, Your Honor, and then I'll have comment during the discussion
All
period.
right, can I have a second to get it on the table? Second. Go ahead.
Just
kind of set the scene a little bit historically and looking into the future. I think we've discussed this before. It's been before the Business Recruitment Committee, which I chair on the EDC, and the involvement of Mr. Spangler, close association with Ms. Eulig, other officials, and of course the key thing in this case is that we cannot apply individually anymore and be competitive. Enterprise zones in Morton go back to the 80s. It offers a substantial benefit for Morton when we look at the potential for investment in the community, the kinds of goods and services that people say they want. So the design, the plan design that Mr. Spangler just described is kind of the best thinking of all the people who worked on this. It is a very competitive environment. We think we've got a good chance, but our best chance is in this combined effort as Mr. Spangler described it. And Mr. Spangler or Ms. Eulig or I will be happy, and Mr. Belsley, who's also been involved with on the committee, any of us would be happy to answer questions or comment further, but I think we're ready we need to take this to the state, and we need approval to do that.
Mr. Belsley, did you want to comment on this too?
I would echo similar comments there. I commend Roger and Kim and others that have worked on this. It's been quite an undertaking over the past several months. Quite frankly, it's just disappointing that we're even having to go through this because, as Trustee Newhouse stated, enterprise zones historically have proven to be successful and an important economic development tool. And why our state has decided to make it tougher to be able to have them or maintain them, it's just disappointing. So I support the effort. It's a good, proven economic development tool, and hope that we're successful with this.
Do any of the other trustees have a comment to make? There being none, would you call the question, please?
Belsley.
Yes.
Dobb.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Newhouse.
Yes.
Village trustees, Trustee Belsley.
One item, Your Honor. Wanted to provide the board with an update on the target range facility. It's actually 1 year ago today that the tornado hit the city of Washington and the surrounding area. And although Morton as a community was very fortunate with the minimal damage that we had, one location that did suffer severe damage was our target range facility out the northwest part of town. And what I provided, I handed out there a one-page of colored images that sort of give a pictorial review of the work that's been done this past year. And up at the top left-hand corner, that was a photo that was taken the morning after the tornado went through, and that is the remains of two structures that we had out there at the target range facility. One was a storage building, and the other was a tower for the target range itself. And that was what was left of them. And then the bottom lower right-hand corner shows the finished building itself that is being used. One facility went back up and is being doubled as storage facility, but then also will have built inside of it an observation tower for the range as well. And then the photos in between just show the progress of the work that was done this past year. But a couple things to note that I wanted to call to your attention on this. Although the majority of the work was contracted out and performed by local contractors, there was a number of things that was performed by our staff and Village Public Works and actually Police Department and auxiliary members of the auxiliary unit themselves. And I could start naming names, but I'm afraid I'm going to leave out some individual names. But what I just wanted to mention is some of those tasks was installing a water line to the building, building a masonry compressor building that you see in the lower left-hand image there on that page, and installing target brackets, site design, significant site design. And to really appreciate what went into this is if you're out to the site to see before and after, physically walk it, there was a lot of work, a lot of thought that went into that. And that was done by staff, and just a really, really nice job that was done. And although this was something that it's a relatively small project in terms of capital dollars. The budget is approximately $75,000. But to really appreciate what went into it and the finished product that we ended up with, a lot of coordination went into sort of coordinating services by others and bringing out a significant amount of fill to the site that came from public work sites, but also private property, and just coordination of trucking the fill there and then doing the site work. All that just took time, and it's not something that just happened, but a lot of thought and planning went into that and coordination. And then we ended up with a really fine building itself from our local company here, Morton Buildings, a really nice facility that we'll have. But, and I guess one other thing I wanted to note is the asphalt millings that came off of, or were a part of our overlayment program with our street improvement program each year. The millings that came off of that were also used out there at the site for driveway and parking lot for aggregate base as well. So that was product that we already had and were able to recycle and use it at that location, and served its purpose really well out there. Just a few items remain really to be able to fully utilize it. We got the compressor to install yet. There's going to be some reseeding and seeding done, additional seeding done next spring, and completion of the restroom facility that you see in the center image there. That's a restroom, and then there's going to be an observation platform that will be built at one end of the building on the inside as well. In the meantime, while this particular site was out of commission from being used, we were able to use and benefit from the services of East Peoria, who lent their target range facility for our police department to use for their annual firearms qualification this year. But hopefully we'll be back using the facility as intended then next year. And again, I guess I wanted to thank the staff, the individuals that contributed to this. And I said I wasn't going to mention any names, but there's one name that I have to mention, and that's our Director of Public Works, Craig Loudermilk, who really did a fantastic job of managing this, coordinating the resources, scheduling the work to be done, and he did this on top of the regular plate of work that he has of our capital projects throughout the summer months as well. So special hats off to Craig. Really appreciate what you've done and the time and effort that you put forth with this. But hopefully this will be a facility that we'll be able to get a lot of use out of in the future years ahead, and it'll serve as a first-class training and firearms qualification facility for the community.
Any other comments? Did we get a motion for this? Do I have one?
No, it's just an update, just a report.
Trustee Dobb.
Nothing tonight.
Trustee Hare.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Trustee Herman.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Trustee Kaufman.
Nothing tonight.
Trustee Newhouse.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
We have an item that requires an executive session, has to do with some litigation. I would appreciate a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Kaufman, seconded by Herman. Vote, please.
Dobb.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Kaufman. Yes.
Yes.
Belsley.
Yes.
For those of you in the audience, we don't plan any action after this meeting, so it would be okay if you wanted to leave.